Hello again, and welcome to Winning with the Wrangler at Dick Powell's Leadership Corner, brought to you by Earth, Wind, Fire, Water Training and Development, where our passion is building leaders of today and tomorrow. Leaders, the information on today's program comes from many different places and many different people. If you hear yourself in our program today, remember, it is not all about you. Now today, we're going to look at I'm just going to put them out there. These are two very important pieces. One is people buy into the leader before they buy into the cause. And right behind that, we're going to talk about sometimes the most unlikely person becomes the best leader. Now, the reason I kind of looked at this today is because it seems to me over and over that leaders sometimes believe just because they have the title and the name plaque and the thing on the door and the letters before their name or the letters after their name that people will just follow them no matter what. And that's just not true. The old world of might makes right and you're going to follow because I say so has never worked, and it doesn't work now. So when I say that people buy into the leader before they buy into the cause, I really want to talk about how do leaders build relationships. What do you think? By the way, Miss Robin's here with us today.
Oh, hi. Yes, I think people buy into the leader before they buy into a cause.
Right.
I think they have to know a little bit about the leader and the integrity and all that kind of stuff, the qualifications, like, again, morals, ethics, all that come into a little bit of play somewhere in there. But those aren't things that we consciously research. So
you might research of things they've done, though.
You might.
Or accomplished, things they've accomplished.
Or what do they call that? Your resume.
I call it my resume, but
okay,
I'm not a big person on resumes. You know that.
Yeah. It's a start. And it is a good place to start. But I think at some point, if it's a small organization, you have access to the leader, that maybe a personal interview, like let's go get coffee, kind of thing, is a good place to really get to know that person. I'm thinking about, I just jumped to little things like joining any kind of an organization. Well, I mean, we've been involved in a variety of organizations, but before we joined them, we kind of got to know the leader a little bit, or we already knew the leader a little bit before we joined. However that worked out before we even attended, and that's like business organizations. We've done a lot of those. I'm thinking even before you join a church.
I want to take and say this though. As the leader, what is your responsibility on this side? That's the part that I'm coming from.
I think
it's a two-sided street.
Excuse me. I think that's the part we don't think about from the leader, is at the same time they are interviewing you in a way to see how you're going to fit into their organization.
Well, but the thing is if I have a cause and I want people to follow me, I've got to build some relationships.
Yes.
I've got to start building some bridges and laying some groundwork and doing those things. It's not going to happen overnight. I'm just not going to take and walk in with the brand new title and say, by the way, I've got these 14 books here and we're going to take and put them on the place tomorrow.
Yeah.
And expect people to take and follow me.
Right. I think I have to do some groundwork.
Which is what
on
happens.
Both sides.
It happens more than not.
Okay.
Think about it.
I am.
How many times that's happened? The other part that I really kind of want you to think about in this is, as the leader, did you come in to actually find out what the people were interested in and where they were and what they were wanting to go and kind of look at them and look at the situation before you brought out the book and said, oh, by the way, this is my standard and we're going to be doing this and this is my 12-step plan.
And again, I think that should have been something part of the get to know me interview process. It's not normal. It's not natural to do that, but it's a good thing to do that.
Well,
to really find out what you're getting into for both sides to meet and get to know each other. And that's not always necessary. I guess if it's just a cause that you want to support, that's a whole different thing.
I think it's really necessary. I think it's just like going on a date.
Oh, let's don't talk about that.
and trying to figure
Dating
out, you
is
know.
so changed, honey.
I know we're old, but the thing is do I have the same values? Do I have the same standards? Do I live by the same, you know, bracket in the world?
Right.
How does
I have
that
the
work?
Same end goal for this relationship in mind?
You know, are we headed the same direction? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing, is that I believe that as on the leader side, we need to take a little time and kind of build some of those relationships before we just jump in and lay down the
law or whatever.
Well, or take and bring in some new thought processes.
Yeah.
When I heard John Maxwell talk about this, yeah, what he said really is every leader has a new exciting piece and has their own vision, and that's great. But you can't just come in and mandate it. You have to come in and have people buy into it. And they buy into you first. Now, I know that we were all raised, and probably you've heard it before, don't judge a book by its cover. I'm going to tell you, people do. And even my mom did. Mm-hmm. The thing what I'm trying to get across to you is that people buy into the leader before the cause. They want to know who you are. What kind of, are you trustworthy? Do you have integrity? What are the things you've done before? Can you really lead us in this cause? There's a whole lot of parts and pieces that I believe go through it that so many times we don't take time to look into.
And a lot of times, your subconscious picks up on clues. I'm getting really to the point now where I watch the body language first. And it's interesting just to watch body language of people you're sitting around talking to, even if it's just casually at, a restaurant or something. Watch the body language. Are they methical? They mentally and morally and ethically similar to you. You don't want to follow somebody that's really different because something's off. Something's just off. But pay attention to those things.
What I'm going to say is this. A long time ago, my grandfather told me, always trust your gut, son.
Yeah, and listen to it.
For many years, I did not, because I was trying to be very intellectual and very learned.
And friendly.
Here's what I'm going to tell you, though. If a dog won't lick his hand, don't do business with him.
Yeah, my grandfather said, don't trust people that children and dogs don't like.
Yeah. And he was a really smart man.
Their children and dogs are still going on their gut, their instincts. Yeah.
So
pay attention.
People buy into the leader. Now, oftentimes, charisma has a lot to do with the buying of the leader. And again, I love when John says that charisma will get you through the door, but it won't hold you there. Because sooner or later, people find out who you really are.
Again, people, they're following the shiny star. The shiny ball. And if you have charisma, man, you're the one people are going to follow. Again, to a point. But if you don't have the moral, ethical, upstanding,
you don't have
behind
the
you
integrity.
You have integrity. The bad body. You got bad body language. You're saying one thing and you're sending opposite messages. They're going to catch on.
One of the things that we talk about quite a lot is what's the message you're sending before you get to speak. And that's the way you walk, the way you talk, the way you hold yourself, maybe the clothes you wear.
A lot of times that's what you're wearing.
It really is the whole package. It's not just parts and pieces.
One thing. Right.
And so people buy into the leader. It's a fact. When we work with churches and things like that, I can guarantee you that this is a fact. And if the person comes in and didn't tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, and charisma got them through the door, fireworks happen very quickly. Happens in large organizations. It happens in families. these are things that we look into all the time. This whole thing is, I ask the question, well, why did you take the job at this location? Why did you accept the money from this person to build your company? You know, what made you follow in their footsteps? Why did you pick up that book and read that? I'm a question guy, and I've been chastised by it by some leaders that I ask too many questions. But this is what I'm trying to get you to do as the leader. Ask that question. Am I coming in and with full charisma, but I don't have no integrity, and I'm going to be found out? You see, if you're always on that move, you can't move forward. And when you're found out, disaster strikes. Things do happen. Corporations fail. Churches fail. Families fail. So think about this at all times. Please, as a leader, think about people buy into the leader. You need to know what your standards and values and morals are. And you need to be able to live them. Walk the talk, so to speak.
And you need to be able to share them with other
Freely.
people
Freely.
to help them grow also.
Right. So
it's a whole package.
Really start thinking about this. I know it's a crazy thing to think about. You're a leader. And I shouldn't have to think about this. Well, people do what people see, and people repeat what people hear.
You're the one that needs to think about some of that stuff first.
How you present yourself is going to be the most important piece, and the message you send before you speak is the second most important piece. Mm-hmm. Now, the second question on today's program was this: sometimes the most unlikely person becomes the best leader. Mm-hmm. Now, Rob and I have both experienced leading from the middle, and we've both experienced people who were the most unlikely people who were given no credit, all of a sudden came up with the very best ideas and leadership.
And we have been that person where I can remember in organizations years ago thinking I'm not a leader. I'm happy to sit here and participate and everything. Always been open with suggestions and talking in a group, but never ever considered I would be the head of that group. And I mean, didn't cross my mind. Mm-hmm. I have joined especially networking groups where it was great. I could just go be somebody who showed up every week and did my bit and helped out and everything else. And almost every time, I don't know why. I don't know why. Almost every time I ended up being the leader within a year.
Yeah.
And really a couple of times wasn't really prepared for that position because I didn't know enough about the organization to lead it. But you learn and you do and you grow and you make decisions with your leadership team, things like that. So at this point in time, I've served as heads of different types of organizations and step back. It's really hard to step back sometimes, not always. But sometimes you have to be intentional about helping the new leader be successful and grow and step in and not be you, but be themselves as the leader of the organization. And that's important. But it's also important to have some process in line to help that development process happen.
The other thing I want you to think about is this. Normally, the person that you least expect who jumps into the leadership position, this normally happens during time of trauma or some kind of stress. A long time ago when I was in Boy Scouts, there was a young man who always hung back, was never really involved until the day someone really got hurt. And that person had the qualifications and the know-how to do all the first aid things that the rest of us were too freaked out to even imagine.
No, we're in shock.
So this young person stepped from out of nowhere, it seemed, and most of us kind of didn't pay him a lot of attention, to a leadership position where he took charge and told us all what to do, all of us older guys. That's the part that really starts to take and shine. In organizations, many times during this time of stress or trauma, these are the people who kind of step up, and all of a sudden you're going, well, where did they come from?
Where have they been hiding?
And they've
And
always been
why?
there. They've
And
always
why?
been there. Maybe they've been overshadowed, or maybe they've been tapped on the head too many times and told to sit down and be quiet. We just never know. I'm just saying to you that instead of having to wait to the last second to have trauma or something terrible, as a leader, take some time. I mean, true time. Build some relationships, look around, really start to get to know those people, know their gifts and their talents and the things that they can and do best. And you'll find that all of a sudden, this thing of the most unlikely person turns out to be the best leader. They were there all the time. You just didn't see them.
Yeah, I didn't notice. So pay attention to people around you. You may also, on the other hand, discover that somebody thought would be the good next leader is absolutely a personal disaster and should not be considered. But that's why when you're choosing leaders, if you're in an organization that rotates leaders, which is a good idea because you never know, rotates for leadership, you need to know that that person is not in line at this point in time to take on a different or a head position. There are some organizations I noticed happening more and more often now. They'll get their elected leadership in, their head, their vice head, the treasurer, and the secretary or whatever in there, and they rotate up. I'm going to tell you that's not a good idea because the person you get to be the secretary might be a great secretary. They might do a fine job as treasurer or as a vice whatever, but as a head position, they may be completely out of their realm. And that is not fair to them. It is not fair to the organization. So I highly recommend against that.
So if we don't take a time to really learn about the person, what their gifts and their talents, their strengths, their weaknesses, that's really the part that I'm trying to encourage with this statement, that the most unlikely person can turn out to be the best leader. Normally that happens when we, the leadership, have not taken the time to really find out about someone else.
Right.
And it goes both ways. They didn't find out about you.
Or the organization or the whatever. Yeah.
I had a friend who was worked at the bank, and they basically took care of loans, and they were really good at doing loans. But as a financial person on the board, they had no clue about how to invest money and how to take into account. That wasn't their world.
Right.
But because they worked at the bank, everyone said, "Oh, well,
they understand money."
It's not that. It doesn't work that way.
We had in a business organization, the banker in the group ended up getting handed over the treasurer's job, and as you said, she had no clue what it meant to keep track of income and expenses because that wasn't her job. She was the vice president of a bank. Right. Didn't have to do that stuff and didn't work up through that cycle. Had no idea. We were a disaster until we got rid of her.
Well,
graciously, we graciously got rid of her. But it's hard to place people in the right positions. I'll also warn you that most organizations, the vice or assistant is supposed to be prepared to take over for the leader if there's a problem. Make sure they're prepared to take over for the leader if there's a problem.
And make sure that that's something that they wish to do,
or they could do, or in a pinch or whatever, because it does happen.
Well, and I know myself, I'm really a great number two. Okay.
I'm awesome number one
because I'm a long-term planner, and you're a short-term planner, and instead that's why that works. But I can't replace her she can probably replace me.
For a short period of time, you could.
Oh, I could fill in for a short period of time, but that's not my forte. It's not what I do best.
Right. But again, if you're an organization where that's the plan is for the assistant to take over, if not automatically, then in case of an emergency, and that person can't do it, what do you do?
What Robin's trying to say, if you're placing people in positions because they can fog a mirror and walk, that is not the reason or opportunity to do so.
Right. It's a bad reason to do so.
Okay.
They got to have some skills.
What we're trying
or you have to help them develop the skills.
That's where I was going.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
In every organization that I've worked with so far as a coach, I have to tell you that one of the things that was lacking in every single organization that I've worked with, they had nothing in place to grow leaders. In other words,
And it's not automatic.
If their forte wasn't financial, who was working with a person to take and say, look, this is how you read the chart, this is how the money comes and goes out, this is where we do our banking, and explain it in a way that they would go, oh, I can do that.
And I especially with the financial part, the finances,
and the
it
secretary.
amazes me how many people have no idea about how to keep those it's math. It's not trigonometry. It's just math. Add, subtract. That just really cannot do that. A secretary that can't get the minutes, either can't get them out in a timely manner, or refuses to get them out in a timely manner, or doesn't really have a concept of what should be included,
or doesn't have a writing ability, or all those things. Well, if that's not their gifts and talent,
right, or can't figure out how to get distributed because she's using a different writing program than most of the rest of the world, can't get them distributed so people can read them. I mean, I don't get it. I don't get it. I'm sorry, I just don't understand it.
It is very hard, but that's why I'm encouraging leadership to put in place in your organization, in your company, wherever you are. If you're in charge, put in place a really opportunity of the learning of the problem. That means everyone should learn every job. Now,
or be able to do it temporarily.
Even at the church level, when I've watched some leadership training happening, they were training to certain group. Mm-hmm. And I encourage them, train everyone who wants to come, who wants to learn. Right. You just never know who might be sitting in the audience that has that gift and talent that you need to add onto your board.
Exactly. And here's where you find out if you open it up to a bigger group before you choose who's doing which job.
Man.
You're more likely to get the right person in the right jobs instead of someone who, again, a warm body and a seat who says, "Oh, I'd like to help. I know we need leadership help. I'll be happy to help." But they're not in a position where they have the skills to do the job.
Just because they offer doesn't mean that you have to accept.
And like all volunteer things, the first person that volunteers is probably not your best choice. I'm just saying.
It's not that they're bad people. They're good people.
They want to help,
but you need to have taken the time to know what their gift is. If their gift is speaking on stage, by golly, grab them and make them the company spokesperson. You know, if their gift is knowing how to add, subtract, and keep really good records, that might be your financial person.
Which is more important than the person that can talk in a microphone on a stage. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
And the person that handles the finances is important.
She's hurting my feelings already.
I know.
But it's important. The person's secretary is just as important to get down the motions, to get down what's going on, to keep track of what's happening.
And distribute it.
You know, the historians. I can't tell you how important that they are. There's nobody that's on the staff that's not important. Each place has its own duty. Each place has its own necessity. Mm-hmm. But again, if we as leaders haven't taken the time and we've just gone out and recruited someone who can fog that mirror, we are not leaders. I'm going to tell you what, and when I say that in front of a group of people who have been in leadership for a long time, I know they kind of get bristled. But I'm going to tell you it's the truth. If you don't have something in the works to grow leaderships, to replace yourself, to replace the other people, and it need to be replaced on a timely basis, or whether it's 2 years or 3 years, whatever the opportunity is, you're not doing your job.
You're not doing your whole job.
I'm just going to lay it there. You're not doing your job.
Yeah.
So if I've angered you, well,
sorry. Great.
Give me a call and tell me why.
Or think about it.
And then give me a call and tell me why.
And grow.
This stuff is important.
Yeah.
So we've asked 2 really basic questions today. Really. We've really done that. You know, how do people buy into the leader before they buy into the cause? And this thing of sometimes the most unusual or person unlikely turns up to be the best leader. Both stem from the same situation where we didn't build a relationship, where we didn't take the time, where we weren't intentional about being with the people. That's where the opportunity starts. What do you think, Miss Robin? Have I got it or not?
I think we've got it, and I think we are involved in organizations that could benefit from our expertise. And I know when I'm trying really hard, but I'm having, there's some challenges.
I got yelled at yesterday by a lady who told me I should do more and do more. Here's what I told her: you cannot drag a horse.
Yourself.
You can drag a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
And if people are interested in what you have to tell them and how they can grow and everything else, don't make yourself crazy.
So leaders, look, I know it takes time, it takes investment, and it takes intentionality to put together a real guideline on how to build leaders. But if you're truly struggling with it, if you just have no clue, give us a call. Send me an email. We're here to help. We're here to guide. And we can do it because we've done it for more than one. But here's what we see all the time. The organizations that put this into place grow and continue to live. They're almost an evergreen world. The ones who don't put it into place seem to come to a brick wall, all of a sudden go, oh, nobody will take a job. We can't get anywhere. Well, because they never grew anybody.
They never grew anybody. And those are the, in a big organization, I'm a wider organization, that's why we're seeing a lot of failures on in this case, an individual church level. They haven't grown leadership. They haven't grown the organization. Everything's what we've always done, the way we've always done it. And that doesn't fly. And they're shutting down, they're closing, and it's sad. It's sad.
It is sad. That's why when I saw these two things today, I told Robin, I said, we just need to speak about them. We need to encourage leaders to go back and say, look, let's put something together so we can grow new leadership. We can instruct everyone and not just a few. We can share knowledge with everyone in the organization, not just a few. We can do this. We can, and we have the opportunity.
I think the best thing we can say right here is the best thing that can happen is we'll meet some leaders who are better than we are. And we can learn from them.
I'm always.
That's the way it works.
Those are the people I like to hang around. Just so you know.
And be open and acknowledge that when it comes up.
Yeah. I always know. I love hanging around people who are
better than me.
Yep. Bigger, better, faster.
I'm going to learn something.
That's who I want to be around.
Yep.
All right, I see our time's running short like usual. Robin, how do you feel about this today? What was the best thing you think we talked about so far?
I think we need to be intentional about developing leaders and seeking out new leaders from people that aren't currently in those positions.
We need to be intentionally aware of who's around us and to build a relationship so we can understand their gifts and talents and where they just might fit into the organization.
Right.
All right.
And at the same time, you need to be open, if you are the leader, to saying, I can go away. I don't have to stay on the board. I can go away and get out of your face, and you can go on in your own way, your own direction.
There you go.
That's huge.
Well, on behalf of myself, Dick Powell, and Robin Powell, we want to say thank you for being a part of today's program. Our hope and desire is that you have gotten a nugget of wisdom and guidance that will help you become a better leader. Now, if you have any questions or comments on today's program, I urge you, call us 727-422-1833. Send me an email, dick@ewfw.org. Go to the website, spend some time. There's a box there. You can click on it and send me a note. Go to www.ewfw.org. When you're ready to have myself or Miss Robin come and put on a leadership opportunity at your organization, give us a call, send us an email, get on the books really quick because we book up very fast over the year. Again, that's 727-422-1833, dick@ewfw.org. And remember, until next time, this is DW the Wrangler saying, ride hard, ride fast.